Hello and welcome to the Index Investor. Now, compounding is often called the most powerful force in investing, yet few investors fully benefit from it. So, in today's episode, we examine how compounding really works and how passive investing helps it work consistently over time. I'm joined by Gajendra Kothari. He's Managing Director and CEO of Etika Wealth, and my colleague Ameya Satyavadi. He's Mutual Fund Analyst at Value Research. And together, we'll discuss why long term wealth creation is less about constant decisions and more about time, costs, and discipline. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh.
So, Mr. Kothari, I'll come to you first. Let's start with the basics. So, when we talk about compounding in investing, what are we really referring to, and why has it earned its reputation as the most powerful driver of long term wealth?
Absolutely. So, see, compounding is something which is the least understood, even after so much discussions around it. Albert Einstein once said it is the eighth wonder of the world.
Right.
And frankly, I've been a student of finance. I've done CFA, been an investor all along. But only after being there in the markets for 15 years, I am now able to see the power of compounding play in my portfolio. So no matter how much we try to explain the power of compounding through these podcasts and videos and financial literacy sessions, unless the investor sees that in his or her portfolio playing out, he wouldn't be able to understand the power of compounding. So let me give you a very easy example.
Yeah.
Okay. So suppose, if somebody were to just start a 1,000 rupees SIP, and if that SIP earns a normal FD kind of return, which is around 8% over 30 years. So over 30 years, per month, you have invested 1,000. For 12 months, you have invested 12,000. And over 30 years, you have invested 3.6 lakhs, right? Now, this 3.6 lakhs at 8% over 30 years would generate 15 lakhs rupees of corpus, right? But now let's break the corpus of 15 lakhs into different time periods. You know what? To achieve the first 2.5 lakhs corpus, it will take you almost 12 years. So out of 30 years, first 12 years will only get you 2.5 lakhs. And then the next 2.5 lakhs will come in a period of 6 years only. And the beauty is the last 2.5 lakhs between 12.5 to 15 will take you only 2 years, because money is growing money. Your base is becoming wider and wider. Warren Buffett says this is like a snowball effect. You throw a snowball from a very long mountain, top of the hill. And as snow gathers momentum, it accumulates more mass. Okay, it accumulates more snow. And it keeps becoming bigger. That's why it's called snowball effect.
Yeah.
It magnifies. But for that, you have to give a lot of time. So compounding has three variables. One is the amount of money that you invest, lump sum or per month. Mm-hmm. The second is the rate of returns that you earn. Okay. And the third is time. Frankly, if you ask me or anybody, the third variable is the one which is really under our control, time. As far as money is concerned, somebody may not be able to invest higher amount, even if he wants to, right? It all depends on your salary and savings patterns. So it is bit in your control, not total in your control. Returns is the one which is absolutely not under your control anyways. Particularly when you invest in mutual funds, there are no guaranteed returns. But the only thing which is completely under your control is time. The problem with time is that time once gone is gone forever. So the sooner you start, the more time you have, right? And I'll give you one classic this thing. Suppose you want your corpus to grow 100x. Okay. In the first 20 years, your corpus would have grown only 40x.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last 5 years, all the heavy lifting, happens, and your corpus grows 60x in the last 5 years. And no matter how much you try hard, you can never do a shortcut in this process. You will have to go through those painful 20 years to reap the benefit of the last 5 years.
Right. So basically earning returns and how it
exactly. That's the point. Yes.
Right. Amaya, coming to you now. So there's a common belief that compounding works best only with individual stocks. From a fund structure point of view, how does compounding work in mutual funds, and is it any different from holding stocks directly?
Yes, Ruchira, at a basic level, compounding works the same way everywhere. When it comes to mutual funds, it is done on a portfolio level. Let's take an example of an index called Sensex. It will have 30 stocks that will be contributing to its compounding factor. Stocks will have only one specific or an individual company that is working for them. But for mutual funds, it is happening on a portfolio basis with diversified set of companies. So it is like a double-edged sword, wherein stocks will have a greater growth when it comes to uh, compounding, but when it comes to downturns or when it comes to sharp corrections, an individual stock will get affected by the sectoral shifts or the market cycles. But when it comes to mutual funds, since they are allocated to a lot of companies as a whole, it tends to fall less due to its composition of a low downfall. It tends to work well with compounding as a whole.
Mr. Kothari, if compounding is the end goal, can a passive approach realistically get investors close to or even match the outcomes that active strategies are trying to deliver?
In fact, on the contrary, I think passives are better placed to achieve the goal of compounding more than anything else.
Mhm.
And I'm talking from my 21 years of experience. See, of course, in active space, we are really in the game of getting alpha, trying to get alpha, or rather, I would say. Whether we get it or not is always elusive, right? See, let's try and understand. Active versus passive, both comprises of a certain portfolio, right? It can be 40, 50 stocks portfolio. And whether you go passive or active, you have a right to get around 12% return, which is the market return, right? You don't have to apply any mind over it. Whatever the market gives over the 10, 20-year period, you will earn through even a simple passive strategy. So 12% is very given. I'm talking about the past historical returns, right? The problem we are all trying to address is rather than looking at easy, low-hanging fruit of 12%, we try to maximize our returns by trying getting 1 or 2% higher than 12%. We're not happy with 12%. And in that pursuit of getting that alpha of 1%, we actually ruin the power of compounding. Because the problem with active funds is that very few active funds over a period of time consistently beat the benchmark. Because each fund manager has a style, certain style. And that style is different from the benchmark. And that's why there's no guarantee that every year you're going to outperform the markets. There'll be some years where your style is not working, and hence you will underperform. And investors being investors, and we like to chase past returns, we always see which were the best performing funds in the last 1, 2, 3 years, and we latch on to that and end up getting subpar returns even compared to index. So it is like that, on the airports, you are in a queue and there are 5 other queues, and you always believe that your line is the longest one and others are getting much shorter, and you keep shifting queues. In the end, you realize that if you were in your own queue, you would have been better off, right? The same happens with active funds because we keep changing ships or keep changing funds every 1, 2, 3 years. We lose the power of compounding in 2 forms. One, we end up paying taxes every time you change the funds, short-term or long-term capital gain. That erodes the power of compounding, that eats into your power of compounding. And secondly, most often we are going from a well-performing fund to a not so, in the sense we are going to a fund which has already performed well. We are chasing the fund which has already done well, right? And invariably, we are going, most of the time we're going into a fund which will not likely do well because a lot of money is chasing that fund. And, so on the contrary, if you just sit in a passive fund, one single passive fund, Ms. Ruchira, do nothing, let it kind of, run its course. In 10, 15 years, you wouldn't have paid a single dime of, penny to the government of India as taxes. You wouldn't have changed funds, and you would get what market gives you the returns, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. So that's when real power of compounding comes. As advisors, as mutual fund distributors, we tell our customers, investors, that don't try to maximize the returns in your portfolio, just try to optimize. And if you end up earning anywhere from 10 to 12% return by just sitting there, do nothing, 99% of the time, if you do nothing, this is when compounding will work for you.
Right. So, Mr. Kothari just mentioned how, passive compounding might work better in passive. So, when it comes to passive funds, costs may look small in any single year, but they compound too. So, can you give us a sense, using a long-term example, of how much difference lower expenses in passive funds can make over 2 to 3 decades?
Absolutely, Ruchira. Costs are one of the few things in investing that compound against you, and they do so quietly. When we take into account an expense ratio of 1%, even that makes a lot of difference. For instance, if you're doing a SIP of 10,000 over a 30-year period, a 1% expense ratio fund versus a 2% expense ratio fund with an estimated 12% returns will aggregate a difference of 10 lakhs in 20-year period. But when we stipulate it further to 30-year period, it will compound to 55 lakhs. So that means you're losing out 55 lakhs of your corpus just by 1% expense ratio.
Okay, so Mr. Kothari, you were mentioning how sitting in a fund for long period of time, how that can generate better returns. So passive investing removes that need for constant decisions, no market timing, no frequent churn. So how does this steady approach help compounding continue smoothly across market cycles? If you could elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, see, when you invest in an index, whether you invest in Nifty 50 index, which is the top 50 market cap companies, the biggest companies by size in India, you get a stable portfolio across sectors, across styles, right? So, and whatever, and you have a great track record of the Nifty 50 as a index or a Sensex. They've compounded at the rate of 12-13% over the last 30-40 years, right? And by the way, 12% is not a bad return. It's a huge return when you sit through this over a 20-30 year period.
Right.
People forget that in India, currently in fixed deposits, we are earning 6-7%, and you're almost earning double the returns without paying virtually any cost. In passives, particularly Nifty index funds, you can get as low as 5%, 10 bips, 0.1%. It's literally you're getting this diversification for free of cost, right? And if somebody is a little more aggressive investor, then you can participate in Nifty 500 index. See, and Nifty 500 is again very beautiful. You just compare this to S&P 500 of United States. In US, S&P 500 is the most popular one, comprises of 500 companies of US. Similarly, in India, the Nifty 500 index comprises of 90% of the India's market cap. And the beauty of this index is, unlike Nifty 50, which is more of large cap, I'm sure a lot of our viewers are young viewers, 20s, 30s, and they want to play this game for 20 years. Then why not participate in the mid and small cap story of India also? Again, through a Nifty 500 index where maybe 60% is large cap and 40% is comprised of mid and small cap index. The beauty with Nifty 500 index is that it gives you a very diversified mix of industries and sectors also. Unlike Nifty 50, which is more banking and financial services heavy, where 30-35% of the index is more in financials, Nifty 500 has a much more diversified group, and it gives you a very good mix of large cap, mid cap, and small cap. So it's kind of a multi-cap fund in that sense. And hence you don't need to, a lot of time people tell me, okay, can I have one large cap index passive also and one mid cap and one small cap? Then again, in some sense, we are trying to complicate the matter when you can go at all the three in one fund. See, again, the moment you have three funds in your portfolio, we being human, beings, we'll keep comparing one fund to the another. And in some years, small cap will outperform large and mid. And again, we'll change the fund, investment strategy. So just have one fund in the portfolio so that you don't have to compare. That's the best fund you have in your portfolio. And that is why you'll sit through for next 20 years. And you'll participate in the power of compounding. And as I said, Nifty 500 fund, you can get it to 0.5%.
Right.
As Amay mentioned, even a 1% cost or a 0.5% cost over 20-30 years can magnify. See, one thing we should all remember, returns we can only aspire and kind of hope for. Costs are given. Right? You have no control over returns, but you have complete control over the cost. So as a maybe DIY investor or, somebody who doesn't have access to great advice, I think this is a sure shot strategy to go.
So, Amay, from what you see as an analyst, how often do emotional decisions like panic selling, performance chasing, how often do such things end up breaking the compounding journey?
Very often, Ruchira. In my experience, compounding rarely breaks because the investment is wrong. When it comes to human psychology, we innately believe that we should be getting the best funds. So when we realize that there are funds which are actually falling further than the market as a whole, or there are funds which are actually doing better returns than that time, we tend to redeem off those funds and we take away the compounding growth that could have boosted our portfolio. So when it comes to an index fund can help you a lot when it comes to investing or compounding as a whole. That way you are not betting against the market, or you are not actually comparing with the market. You are accepting what the market returns are giving you. And at the end of the day, you realize that what you will be earning is what the market will be earning. And that way that boosts your confidence in a way that you will be at par with the market, and you won't be losing, or you won't be losing any stream of performance that could have had a boosting impact in your downturns as a whole. So that way, an index fund is a beautiful example as to how you can actually get away from this panic selling, or get away from this human innate psychology altogether by investing in the market, at the market as a whole.
So, bring it all together, compounding, low costs, and discipline. What are the key conditions investors must create if they want their money to grow quietly and consistently over decades?
Yeah, so I think, I've been a student of market for 21 years, Ms. Ruchira. The biggest hack which I can give you is the less you touch your portfolio is like your soap. The less you touch it, the more it grows, right? If you keep touching the soap, it will keep kind of diluting it. So, more than a distributor, I'm a first investor myself, and in my portfolio, 95% of the time I just try and to be buy and hold kind of thing.
Mhm.
See, try and understand whether you're investing in an active fund or a passive fund. There is a fund manager. Even in a passive fund, there is automatic rebalancing that happens, right? Many people come to me and tell me, okay, why do I do passive investing? I can buy good quality stocks and just sit on there for next 25, 30 years and create. Why do I pay even that 0.5% also? People forget that, the winners which were there 20 years back, the same stocks will not be there in the index 20 years down the line. Index eliminates losers automatically out of the portfolio at a very low cost or virtually no cost. But the same stocks that you were holding 20 years back will not remain the leaders tomorrow, right? So you can sleep over it for 20, 30, 40 years. And when you wake up, you'll always be, waking up with a great surprise, positive surprise rather than shock. So in my portfolio, 90% of the time I do nothing. Unfortunately, when a lot of investors comes to us, we tell our investors that though you're coming to us, 80% of our investors don't create wealth because you keep jumping ship, every 6 months, 12 months. And here am I show my portfolio and says, look, I've done nothing for last 10, 15 years. Even my funds have underperformed, massively, but still I've not done it because I know that over a long term, almost all the funds that I have in the portfolio will give me 10, 12, 13, 14% return. And I have to look at the portfolio level, not at the individual funds level. The problem with most investors, Ms. Ruchira, is that because they have 3, 4, 5 funds in the portfolio, and most likely, most of them are active funds in the portfolio, they'll always be ranked number 1, and there'll be a big difference between rank number 1 and rank number 5 in the portfolio. And people, even if their portfolio is giving a very healthy return of 12, 13% at the portfolio level, but if one fund is giving 7%, that fund will give them sleepless night, and they would like to change the fund as soon as possible because they want every fund to be a winner in their portfolio, which is not possible. Right. So that problem is really solved by the index. And my only suggestion to all viewers is that when you go with index, don't again go shopping in the index funds, in the sense, don't have 10 index funds, different varieties of index funds in your portfolio, where you have, a separate large, mid, small, then you play on with factors also. You have a quality factor portfolio, because all these styles will also change. And when you're investing in a broad-based index, you're getting all the styles, you're getting all the flavors, you're getting all the industries. And it's a great diversification. It balances out. So the simpler you keep, the whole idea of passives was simplicity. Yeah. Unfortunately, today, all of us, all the industry people and everybody, tries to kind of, glorify complexity, that, do this, do that, time this, time that. I think the simpler you keep, the better off you'll be.
Right. So compounding doesn't need constant action. It just needs simplicity, patience, low cost, and discipline to stay invested through every market cycle.
But that's the most difficult part.
Right. Exactly. So with that, time for us to wrap up this conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your insights. Thanks.